Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Tom. And please do interrupt me if you have any questions. I would like to ask how many is even roughly familiar with Helsinki Region InfoShare? Okay, quite a few. But not all. So I was thinking of starting giving a generic overview of Helsinki Region InfoShare, what it is we are doing in terms of helping to open data, and then tell a bit about our experiences visiting roughly 20 agencies, very public agencies, virastoja so far, and what to our experiences are, not in any ranking order, but what are like the 5 typical questions or issues raised when we visit these agencies, and sort of the typical answers that we try to give. And then after that, Tom will put all this into a more generic framework, because he's been working on this a lot in different countries. So as many of you know, the Helsinki Region InfoShare, or HRI project, in general, it's a pilot project financed by the Helsinki metropolitan area municipalities and Sitra and Valtiovarainministeriö to basically open public data from the Helsinki region. And the idea is to pilot hands-on what it means to open data, what is required to actually do it. So we are not saying that we know all the answers, but we are learning by doing, and we work with others to share what we know and build on top of that. And the idea is that we will get as many municipalities in the Helsinki region and as many agencies on board to really wanting to open data. Let's say we have some kind of mandate to open data, but we don't really have sticks, we have carrots. So it's more like we really need to motivate the agencies to see the benefit of opening data. And that's sort of the hard selling part of this thing that we are now gathering some experience from. What we are also doing very concretely is building a web service which basically provides the end users of the data an easy way to find this open data and to download and to understand it. It's not our data, it's not HRI data, but it's the data that belongs to the agencies and municipalities or the public entities. We basically want to help people to find it. Because right now, if you go to Google or Bing or whatever, and you try to search for open data, it's kind of hard. You can't really find it. And the key here is really, there's a lot of information. There's a lot of information on the internet. Many of it is in the intranet, so nowhere to be accessed by the general public. We are not talking about opening PDFs or publishing HTML pages. We are talking about actually publishing raw data, which then can be further processed by applications or analytical tools and so on. So this is a very clear distinction we want to make. So it's about the actual data. And right now we are sort of a little bit further than midway in our pilot. We have roughly 1 more year to go piloting this thing. And of course, next year we already need to prepare a plan beyond 2012 for the municipalities of actually how to do this and what is required to make this as an ongoing thing. So we want to not just the pilot thing, start the project, end the project, but actually make this into an ongoing thing for the municipalities and agencies to keep opening more and more data. The way this is being implemented, it's basically, we have the City of Helsinki Urban Facts, or Building Helsinki, where I'm working at. And then we have these kind of information specialists and other specialists from the metropolitan area municipalities to help to open the data, to come up with guidelines and recommendations and so on. We have a handful of people right now, which is good. We could use more people. Luckily there is also very active people in some of the agencies and some of those sort of open data activists who help tremendously to sort of on their own time to to make this happen and so on. So it's basically about collaborating with many different organizations to open data, and also with the Finnish government, and also with some companies now who are sort of thinking that perhaps if we open our data, we can make a business out of it. For example, like Helsingin Sanomat in Finland, and that is really helpful to also gain more attention to us opening data. And our sort of selling point for opening data. In our project plan, I think we have roughly 10 bullet points about saving money and time, so increasing efficiencies, making agencies more technologically independent. But then we also have these sort of more philosophical points of increasing transparency and democracy in terms of providing better visibility of what government is doing, then to enable people to understand decision making and sort of be more actively taking part into it. Then about business and innovation, we don't have a lot of evidence yet in Finland that this is actually working, but we are getting now some encouraging evidence in Finland and elsewhere that actually opening data helps to create new business. It will probably take a while, but it's obvious that that's one very, very interesting potential benefit. And then it's the government efficiency. The idea that the government actually benefits when it opens data. So, because more and more data is needed to collaborate between different agencies and between companies and citizens, so that's one key driving forces or the benefits behind open data. So in the Helsinki Region Infrastructure project, we are basically focusing on statistics and estimates. This is because of the background of the project. There's statistical agencies from Helsinki and these kind of strategical administrative agencies from other municipalities who've been creating a lot of statistics and estimates to help the municipalities to make strategic decisions. So a big bulk of the data is that. But there's also geospatial data, maps and so on, and other data. Basically any data that the municipalities and people want and gets enough sort of requests, then we try to help to open. For example, financial data, decision-making data, transportation data and so on. Just yesterday we published an article accessible via hri.fi about what we are working on right now, and we will make that into a habit of doing every month to inform people what we are opening, what is going on and why. And also hope to get feedback from the public what kind of data should be opened. And roughly the way we work, the Helsinki Region InfoShare, we try to match the data producers with the end users. So end users could be anybody, but let's say here are developers or people who just want pieces of data, anybody who uses the data in any way. And here we have the agencies and other entities who produce the data. So we want to help these agencies to get their data open and give them recommendations, guidelines, tools to publish their data. And then give the end users mechanisms and visibility so they find their data. And what is really important to actually get feedback from the end users, understanding what they need, what kind of perhaps new formats or new data sets they want, and then direct that feedback back to the data owners and providers. So to make this kind of thing happen. And that currently is a function that sits in the city of Helsinki Urban Facts, and also these other municipalities have some resources to help it with this. But this is what we are building. And it doesn't mean that we are the only node that sort of takes care of this data going through here. But that is needed, but we are sort of a facilitator from a sort of more ecosystemic perspective that we just want to make these match with these. So that's what we are doing. And on a concrete level, we have a web service, hri.fi, where we publish the data. We don't typically host the data, the actual raw data. We would like the agencies to do that. But that seems to be a bit of a problem. So I'll talk more about that later in sort of my top 5 list of challenges. And this website is open to everybody. And the idea is that, like in these typical data catalogs, you can search the data, you can download it or otherwise access it, you can filter it, you can grade it, you can give feedback. And in addition, we try to more and more explain what you can do with the data, provide examples to visualizations, explain how developers use the data and so on. So sort of give how to do guidance to people who want to use the data and to make the data owners understand what can be done with the data. For example, to provide a list of applications that use data from this website. So try to do that kind of matchmaking also via the website. Now, typically when we talk about this, it's still quite abstract. Okay, there's a web service, but so what? When we go to agencies, they're like, okay, right. But when we move into this part, we really start to talk about applications. This is what I've learned. It's like, it's something concrete that you can touch on. So the agencies, they're like, okay, that's interesting. Tell us more. And then, I would say particularly like mobile applications. If there's a transportation agency or some other agency and I have some like related mobile application and show it, they might be like, hey, where did you get that? Show me that. So it's like, I think this is the magical tool in many cases. And then when you have something really nice to show, like this, one of the Apps4Finland entries in visualization categories, that just makes you go like, wow, this is cool. So when people can understand, relate to, and even better if they have seen or tried something, then it's like, okay, now I understand this. We had this a couple of weeks ago. We went to the city planning office. We had a really good discussion. The city planning department of Helsinki, they have lots of transportation data from the sensors showing the statistics, how much traffic there is in different parts of the city, where do the accidents happen and so on. And really what sort of kick-started the discussion into a new level was that they had in their sort of coffee table meetings, kahvipöytäkeskustelu, they had discussed about this verokuitti, this service where one of the Apps4Finland contestants, where you can enter your salary and see where your money goes. They brought it up and they all were discussing about it. And after that, it was so much easier to say, hey, that relates to open data, Apps4Finland, and that relates to what we are doing here. So that's sort of the point where the discussion goes to a new level. When somebody has seen some open data application or actually used those, so they start to understand it. So then what we do, what we try to get to a point where we actually get some data from the agencies. Not just talking, but getting some data. Okay, we have some basic instructions how you get started if you're an agency with data. A checklist. Okay, you need to be in the Helsinki region, or your data needs to do something with Helsinki region, it needs to be public, you need to offer it as raw data, no charge, and with this recommended license, open data license. So, and then just click on a form and submit us information about your data, and then we'll get back to you. So that's where we aim at. But now it comes to the sort of, before we get to that point, that we actually get to, let's say, the first comma-separated value file which has raw data. We need to tackle some issues. So this is the second part of my presentation. This is what we have learned so far. These are not in any particular order. They're repeated. They're pretty much repeated almost every time. So, first question is, or the issue is, the agencies can say, okay, the developers benefit, they make money, you make money, and the society benefits at large, sure. But what's in it for us right now? What do I get? I'm from the agency, what do I get? I have to put in extra effort. How do we make money? I mean, we even might lose money. So, things we go through usually, and concrete examples help. We are talking about cost savings, depending on the agency, but actually publishing the data openly probably reduces the amount of direct requests to a person, leads to other sorts of cost savings to our experience. And if we look at, let's say, Helsinki Regional Transport Agency, they've said that they are achieving more with less. I think 1 out of 6 requests to their API plus route planning API comes from outside developers. So there's a huge demand for that kind of data, and there's lots of applications using that data, which the agency itself would not have been able to create, or if it had, it would have probably paid a lot of money. So it's about achieving more with less, and helping to drive the agency's key goals. That depends, but let's say in the case of transport, you could argue that the more there's mobile applications or any applications that helps a person use more public transport, that's good for the agency, whose goal is to actually encourage the usage of public transport. So of course then we are trying to find a way to translate these examples to the specific agencies. But in general, these are the kind of discussion points, getting wider external input to internal development also. It's a new thing. I mean, not to all agencies, but many agencies are quite closed and are not necessarily familiar working with external entities. This is what we encourage. And in general, being able to do things that would be otherwise quite impossible. So these are some of our discussion points related to sort of getting the direct benefit goals there.
So what is the buy-in from the agencies? Do they like to answer these parts?
Usually they do. Then there comes these other parts. So it's like a combination of getting, let's say, these 5 at least right. They're like, okay, I understand, okay, right, I understand the theory. Well, the next question typically is like this. Okay, if I believe in that, so what do I have to do? This is from a real life example. I mean, it's this question. Okay, this open data starts to sound interesting, but our resources are fully booked. So we have a table in an agency. There's during our visit there might be 5 people from the agency X, and the boss is saying that, hey, yeah, this is nice, but we are very busy right now. Maybe come back to us in 3 to 6 months' time. We'll figure out something. And to me, that's like, okay. How about we, the one you showed there, the PDF, you probably have data behind there. Could we just get that data, like that one as a file to pilot it, because I don't want to leave without getting a promise of the data. And then this is true, this is actually a real example. The boss asks from the IT planner, so the IT is really important. I mean, even these basic terminologies of IT is, the boss level might not be that familiar, so we need IT people. So the IT people, a person answers quite laconically, well, if I export that into a CSV file, it's probably a 15 minutes job. 15 minutes. I push the button. Yeah, sure. The boss is like, okay, right. So it's about understanding that this is not, we talk about files and piloting. I'm not talking about going there and saying you need to build this super API. Just give us the file, let's work on that. So that usually is like the answer, or my answer would be, hey, you can pilot very quickly. Let's take that one file, give it to us. We don't do anything, we don't publish it yet. We just, we work with that. And your IT probably already knows how to do it. And then let's take further and small quick steps. And invest more to the, I tell the agencies, when you see the return on investment becoming clear. We don't want to force you to do it. But let's take these small steps. And then that hopefully leads to getting the file. So the next question would be, and this is surprising, well, there's no place to put the file. We don't have any place. We have this web publishing and that. We don't have any. If we ask our city IT, they are saying, no, you can't, and it's a big process. It will take us 6 months. So if we export public CSV files, just an example of our database contents, where to put this. And they ask if we have any storage for them. It's typical. Do you have a place we can upload the data? Right now, our hope is that the agencies, they host the data themselves. We have not prepared ourselves to be a data warehouse. We don't want to become one. Maybe in the long run, these issues need to be addressed. However, in special cases, we can take the data and the pilot and put it on our servers. We don't typically want to do that. So I would ask, tell me if this is wrong. I would ask, how do you publish your current web pages? You have web pages, you have PDF files there. Just create another web page and put your file there and tell that point to this license that we have. And then we, in our web service, we point to your location and we get the descriptions from you. So it's basically the same process to start with. And then they're like, okay, right? So then you need a webmaster. That might be even sometimes problematic. You need a webmaster who creates the additional page and puts those files somewhere. So it's not really a rocket science, but it's perceived to be really difficult. Again, if we talk about long-term building APIs and so on, of course, that's more complicated and will cost some money. But this is how we tackle these initial stages. Okay, so if we have the place to put the file, which is okay. There's worry somebody would misuse or misunderstand the data, which is understandable. We have heard comments very typically that the data we have, the agencies say are for experts. Even some of our own people don't understand the data fully. So isn't there a risk if a developer takes the data, doesn't really understand it, and creates a massively popular application out of it, which the media covers and everybody is like, hey, imagine with financial data or other data, draw wrong conclusions. Well, that's a real concern. What we try to say is, well, try to describe your data. I mean, I would imagine it's good even for internally for the agencies to better describe their data. Provide links to data descriptions. When people find the source data, they find descriptions, supporting documents, and so on. And even in the open data license we are recommending, this is what developers, they should always, when they make an application, give the source URL. So anybody who uses the application and really wants to understand actually finds the source data and the descriptions. That would be helpful. But I would say that many people understand that data is not always perfect. You can live with it. So understanding it's not a perfect world. I mean, we could argument that statistics can lie, visualizations can lie, and so on. So sort of people in general, there's always this risk that somebody misunderstands something. This is what we try to say, that hey, it's not necessarily as big of a deal as you think. Okay, good. We have data. We have somewhere the file somewhere. It's described. It's accessible. We are our catalog and we are the agency website. Great. So it's really good data, or there's something with it. People want more. Then of course this relates to resources, but there's a worry of data feedback overload. If I put the data there, now it's only being used internally. Now there's millions of people that will use it, thousands or millions, and we get massive amount of feedback. Who's going to handle that? Of course, that's a real concern. And we don't have that much experience. Based on what we know, this is not really a big issue. I mean, I'd say, correct me if you have different experiences, I would say that it's actually a very good sign if there's a lot of feedback, somebody's interested. It's good, it's useful. Then it might be more about creating FAQs or creating better descriptions to the data, and then helping people to help each other regarding the data, drawing the line what, as an agency, you basically help people to understand the data and what sort of is somebody else's job. But it's also a good opportunity to encourage public feedback and turn that into a dialogue which actually helps you as an agency to learn, to develop the data further and to sort of learn from people. So these are the things we talk about. And then of course we say again that hey, let's pilot with something first, something small, take small steps, see what happens. So those are kind of like the 5 issues we often encounter when we deal with public agencies and want to open their data. There's also, of course, many other topics will be discussed here. You might probably have different kinds of issues in mind, and Tom will go through some experiences from other countries, but these are typically the other questions, like the agencies ask, do we get the credit for the data? Is it like Helsinki Region InfoShare data, or is it my agency data? And the answer, of course, is it's your agency's data. We just help people to find your data. Now this is a tricky one. The agency is currently selling the data. The question is, how do we get compensated if we do it for free? It's basically out of our scope. It's more like a legislation level, state level issues that's being sort of discussed and taken forward in Finland right now. But it's a difficult question with some agencies. And then there are agencies who have very fine granular data, which can't be published as such because it's not public. It would violate somebody's privacy, for example, break some laws. So the question is how to make it less granular, and to extent do we need to do that. We are working on that right now, for example, regarding statistics. We don't have an exact answer. For example, we have a lawyer working with us, and we work with other entities, let's say like Helsingin Seudun Ympäristö, OSY, and others. And right now, for example, their data, they are opening their data in terms of 500 meters times 500 meters squares. That's pretty safe. But sort of finer granularity, there might be issues with privacy. And there's something legislator says, and then these tietosuojavaltuutettu, there seems to be a bit different opinions. So we are trying to understand what is safe and work with others to sort of get the optimum balance between granular data as possible and still, of course, sort of doing it legally. And then, this is the question that really made me, to end this, made me really happy. We were visiting one of the agencies some weeks ago. We had all this discussion. It was actually the city planning office, Helsinki. One person said that, hey, we have this sensor data, or data from traffic, from our sensors. We don't have it from everywhere. It's not 100% there. If we do this opening, is there a way people could actually contribute us, complement our data, give us back? And that's I think that was a fantastic question, because it shows that in the agency they think how they can benefit. And this is sort of the way we want to take this. And these are the questions that really shows us that, okay, there's thinking happening within the agencies. Yeah, that's basically to conclude my part of the presentation. Thank you.
Questions, remarks?
Yeah, questions.
So you explained that of course it's important to explain motivate the various agencies kind of from their perspective, that it makes their life easier, it saves the money and so on.
Yeah.
Of course, with government agencies, they have data which aids government transparency and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what has been your experience of putting forward that kind of an argument, or is that something you put forward at all?
You mean increasing the transparency part?
Yeah.
Yeah, we do. I mean, we sort of, as I showed in the beginning, we actually explain the big picture. We go through this is transparency and democracy and business and innovation and so on. And it sort of depends what they catch on. I think there are many people in many agencies who actually really want to make the society more transparent. It comes to an individual level. So let's say if you have a room agency that has, in a meeting you have 5 people, you might have some people there who are like, okay, yeah, we want to do this, and then you might have other people who are like thinking more pragmatically. So I think it's good if you appeal to many sort of needs. But yeah, there is, I can see that. And some really think that this is, well, it's not, it wasn't an agency, but actually in the municipality of Vantaa, part of the Helsinki metropolitan areas, we had our HRI team, we had a meeting with the Vantaa hallitus, the iltakoulu, so basically the people who decide. Mm-hmm. And I could see, I knew originally that within Vantaa, actually the approval for HRI project was not that straightforward. There was a lot of heated debate to my understanding, which I can understand. I mean, open data, this is, think about 1.5 years ago, it's a new thing. But in that meeting, there were political parties, people from political parties. You have from left, right, and center. And I think it was really important to many of those parties not to just talk about business, but to also talk about transparency and how people make better decisions, how you make a better society. I think we even heard comments afterwards that, hey, now we understand this better. I used to be against this project, now I understand it's a bigger picture, and now I'm like, this is a good thing. So, I don't know if that answers your question, but it's important, and there is people who really want to see that happen.
Skoro on Wiley, Yle. What is the biggest obstacle is it the making it free from the legal point of view, or is that what is the biggest obstacle from the government, from the office, from the data providers' point of view?
I'd say that on a higher level, for those public entities that actually are selling their data right now, it's probably the biggest obstacle, because if they don't get compensated, they don't get revenue from selling the data, they can't operate. So for those agencies, it's probably the number one thing. Then for others who are not actually selling their data, that's not really an issue. It's more like, it's a new thing, how to do it and to understand how to benefit and so on and so on. So for them, it's more of a mindset, methods, so on thing. Even more that than an actual technical thing. Because on a technical level, okay, I know there's some sort of people in the industry, so to say that okay, this is the only right format or that is the only right format, but that's not really true. So to answer your question, it depends. And right now we are waiting for the state, the committees to come up with solutions of how to actually finance from the state budget, for example, to compensate for the loss of revenue for those large state agencies who are selling the data. And we are hearing today, or you probably have heard, that the National Land Survey, Maanmittauslaitos, they now propose to the higher level that they actually open a lot of their data worth like 1.5 million euros. So it's interesting to see what happens if that goes through and how they are compensated. But there's probably a big shift happening, and legislation needs to change before things really happen big time on a higher level in Finland.
Okay.
Thanks for the questions.